This mud thing smelled horrible the whole day. And they kept feeding it flour and just like stuff to keep it thick because it was so hot in the arena. It was like watery and just gross. It almost looked like diarrhea. Professional wrestling was good to our family. You know, it fed us, it took care of us. To be able to be married to Eddie, I was learning my own craft just watching him at home. You know, so God had blessed me so much to be able to do that. But wrestling is my second family. After Eddie's passing and I came to WWE for 2 months, it was just to be for 2 months, just to get Eddie's name, you know, to be remembered by the fans and to kind of give a memorial to Eddie with me being on TV. And so I remember, you know, there was a discussion, only 2 months, you know, and then, oh, great, I'll go back home and take care of my girls and we're good. But then it just built and they're like, well, let's try a year contract. And I was like, sure. And then a year turned into 5 and then here I am again and it's been 20 years. So it's been just a great welcoming, you know, to come back and see everyone. My character at the beginning sucked. I was horrible. From Teddy Long to Dusty Rhodes to Undertaker, like they would tell me, you're horrible, like you suck. You know, your camera work is bad. And through those people, they coached me and they helped me night after night. And I started believing my character and I started enjoying myself. And I was honored. Edge taught me a lot. He's the one who had me, you know, close my eyes and teach me how to navigate the ring and be very comfortable in the ring. And he showed me how to work the cameras, you know, and he would give his input and I told him, you know, please teach me everything I need to know. And it was almost like when we were working together, we could kind of look at each other and kind of like talk to each other, you know, like, oh, we're short on time or let's wrap it up or whatever it was. I contribute a lot of my success to Edge's knowledge and just for him believing in me and to trust me, to learn how, well, I mean, I knew what a heel was, but for Edge to give me the philosophy, you know, that, you know, when we kissed, it wasn't about being romantic, it was about being sloppy and disgusting. I think the worst part was the elderly women when we'd walk to the ring, how they hated me so much. And I know it's because they were jealous because they wanted to be in my place, you know, to be with Edge.
When you hear wrestling wedding, what are you thinking?
That something's gonna happen that's gonna destroy the wedding. This was such a fun time for the La Familia. I mean, this was a fun night because this is where I found out that Edge was actually having an affair with the wedding planner. And to know that, you know, I mean, to know that I was part of one of the WWE weddings was, it was fun. You know, and to know that we were gonna make this into a disaster at the end of the night was even more hilarious to us. As you know, to pronounce our love, I mean, it was disgusting, but it was so much fun too, to like have that crowd play with us. And the crowd knew that we were, you know, bull crapping. But then, you know, here's Hunter, which I knew was gonna be pretty bad because he goes, are you okay with fat jokes? And let's be honest, like I was the only diva in the locker room. There's probably over 170 pounds. You need these beautiful women in the locker room, gorgeous. And so Hunter used my, you know, my weight for these jokes. And I think because I was a team player, I had a thick skin, you know, so to know that he was gonna do this, you know, with the wedding gifts and whatever, I mean, I was for it. I was like, let's do it. Whatever made the ratings and whatever gave us TV time, I was all in. And I was so mad because, I mean, I had a good hair day and the dress was beautiful and the flowers smelled good in the ring. But to see the fans start, they knew that what was gonna happen. And then when they kissed, I mean, the arena just, it roared. You know, I was known for promos, and my promos are usually about 20 minutes long. And me and Teddy were in Gorilla, and I was in the wheelchair because I was really hurt. And his job was to always push me out. I had a promo to open the show, and I had my first revision, which is about 3 pages long. I was able to spend like 3 hours, got it memorized, I was good. And then probably like 20 till we went live. I had a revision. It was something totally different. They changed the whole concept of the promo. And then Teddy was like looking at it. He was, you know, kind of laughing because I was changing, these revisions were always being changed. And so about the third revision, it was like 5 till we went live. And Teddy Long was like, "Oh, Playa, you're gonna mess this up, aren't you?" And I'm like, "I think tonight's the night that I'm gonna mess up this promo." Whenever we went out there, I had all these revisions in my head, and I was cute to start, and I forgot my lines. And so I stood there like a deer in headlights, and Teddy Long was like kind of rubbing my back. You know, he's like, "Come on," you know, and I probably said the first line of whatever promo they gave me. And I kind of stopped, and I was so confused, and the fans caught on right away. And you can see, I still remember the guys at the front row. They were like, "You forgot your lines, you suck. Like, you know, go back home." And I looked at this one particular guy, and he was flipping me off. And he was like giving me the most horrible looks. And I just looked at him, I'm like, "Excuse me." And I just kept, every time they roared back, I roared again. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I'm fired." I went back to Gorilla, and you know, no one looked at me. And when they don't look at you or they say good job, it was a very uncomfortable situation. But then the writers were like, "I think we can use this to your advantage." And so they kept writing the excuse me for me to come out and open the show or start my promos with that.
Excuse me!
Excuse what?
Excuse me!
Excuse me!
I said excuse me! Excuse me! Excuse me! I said excuse me! Excuse me!
And it's been successful, and I've trademarked it. And so I've used that, you know, for like appearances and stuff. So excuse me belongs to me, so don't use it. To be on a WrestleMania stage is very overwhelming because first, the ramp is maybe like a mile long, and to know that I was gonna have a match, you know, and I felt comfortable because I had Lay Cool with me, which I loved very much, and the other girls, you know, we had a good time. I was more worried about what the match was and what I had to do more than what the crowd was. But watching it later, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like there was a lot of people there," and for them to boo me was incredible. I mean, it was the biggest roar that I ever had. So it was just fun, and for me to be in gear, like, it was just hilarious. Like, but I loved being able to honor Eddie with my gear with the flames. And the girls helped me. I mean, they were all just so wonderful to me, and you know, I was like, "Just don't kick me hard" or whatever. But it was, we all had fun, and we laughed the whole day about that. To see that the women were actually to have, you know, time on a match and to be featured and to be, you know, like the WrestleMania books that they would come out for the fans, like to see that we actually had, you know, our own match, you know, publicized. We knew that, you know, WWE was giving the women a chance, you know, to be highlighted and to have a part of the show. I mean, WrestleMania, I mean, everyone waits for that. And then for me to do this frog splash, it was so horrible. It was horrible, but and Michelle was like holding on to me. But to go up there on the third rope, it's high. I mean, for some reason it was higher for WrestleMania. To know that I was gonna do a frog splash, yeah, that was a little intimidating because my husband Eddie did it the best, you know. So whether it was good or bad, I knew that it was gonna be my own way, and you know, I took it for what it was. But AJ Lee, I mean, man, she was just a trooper to work with me. I mean, she was incredibly talented. She was such a great character. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff we ad-libbed a lot. You know, we said, you know, I was gonna kind of, you know, stall to get in the ring. We just kind of went with whatever I figured out, you know, whether I was gonna faint or get the ball of water and take a drink and then stretch, maybe because I wasn't, you know, ready. One thing I did do though is whenever I was in the ring or I had something to do with any superstar, I really focused on what that moment was. You know, I didn't get distracted with anything like the fans, or if something went wrong, you know, you just kind of paid attention, and you You had to be where we had to be, you know, for that match. See, AJ was just a natural. And we really fed off each other's, you know, emotions. And the fans, every time, you know, she got me in the ring or I was caught, the fans loved that. And that's what it was. It was the chase of the cat and mouse that, you know, when they knew that, you know, if they were mad when I would run away, but then when I got caught, that's what they wanted to see. And so we fulfilled all their emotions for that match. And that was a great night. These poor refs, we would walk back there and just crack up with each other because they're like, I mean, these refs, I mean, I like to play with them a lot, you know, so to be able to have fun, you know, like, hey, I'm gonna faint, but they didn't know like how drastic I was gonna faint or if I was gonna hang on them. Like I had fun with everyone that was involved. I had been there close to 15 years from the start of Eddie to 2014. You know, my girls were getting older. I was missing their high school events. And I wanted to do something else, you know, before, you know, time ran out. So, but I gave WWE a year advance, you know, and everybody was so compassionate. You know, they just supported me in whatever I wanted to do. So I gave them a year. You know, we were able to finish up all the storylines. And when they told me that I was gonna end with Stephanie, I was very honored with that. You know, that day that we had that mud match, as far as we knew, it was just gonna be the girls that were gonna attack me, you know, run down the ramp, get me, and then throw me into the mud. And it wasn't until right before showtime that they said, oh no, well, Stephanie's actually gonna throw you in. And I was like, oh, that's great. You know, I was happy with that. And then she goes, and then Vicki, you're going to get me and throw me in. And I was like, are you sure? Like, you know, here's my boss, you know, that wants to do that for me. And she was like, whatever, let's do this, let's have fun. And then, you know, for her to say, okay, now you're gonna finish with Eddie's music, I was just like, I was a mess. It was a good night. I was so sad coming down the ramp because that was my last match. But I was happy though because, you know, to leave on the good graces of WWE and to know that, you know, Stephanie had already agreed to how we were gonna end that match was overwhelming. For someone like Stephanie McMahon to be, you know, management, my boss, you know, my mentor. I mean, I watched her stuff for years just to, you know, be as good as her. And then for Stephanie to, you know, for us to plan that I could, you know, throw her in. I mean, I was overwhelmed and grateful that she wanted to do this. And she had like, oh my gosh, she had all of her jewelry on and stuff. Like the more I see this, like she was such a team player and that showed me the respect that she had that I was leaving. And she's so good. I mean, she's the #1 heel. I mean, she was the roadmap to how to be a bad guy. And then all that mud that was dripping through the ramp. And then to end with Eddie's music, that was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And the fans just like gave me so much love that night walking out. Just a big thank you. And hearing Eddie in my heart every time was, I never expected to have his music to walk out to it, you know, so to have him in my heart and all the fans just loving on me, you know, it was great. And then to go backstage, I mean, everyone was just in tears and all the girls were back there in mud and we're just laughing and crying at the same time. But I was happy because this was 10 years of me working, you know, for this company that I wanted to make them proud. And I wanted to do good for them, you know, so with this mud match, you know, which wasn't my only one I had there, but to know that everything went well and that it went according to plan, that was a good night for me. When I knew that I did my job well, then I could go home and sleep. To know that they were granting the women their first Royal Rumble was historical. I mean, the women were never given that kind of recognition to have, you know, their own pay-per-view, you know, to have this. And then I got the call in late November before the Royal Rumble, and I had to keep it quiet for 4 months. So you know, to know that, you know, I was able to be a part of this, I was honored and I was taken back because they wanted me to come back. And number 16 is always going to be special to me. You know, we only practiced this like one time. And we were just like, let's just go out there and have fun. And, you know, for me to like be thrown out, the fans, you know, it was great. I mean, they loved it. They hated that I was in there anyway. But, and then to have the chance to, you know, I wasn't done yet because Carmella, you know, comes out with the briefcase and I get to hit her. Like, WWE just always made it to where I had a part in this special match. I mean, I was part of history. And that's something that, you know, as much as people want to say, you know, that whether I wasn't good enough or, you know, I only got the job because I was Eddie's wife, I had to work for this. And I had to show them that I was invested to show up every night. And no matter what it was that was asked of me, I gave it to God and I did my best. I never knew that I could be a WWE superstar. I mean, when I worked with Eddie, it was just an aloof, you know, let's bring the girls and Vicky and make it more real for Ray's family to be there and, you know, for me to knock Eddie off the ladder. And I mean, they were just like, oh, okay, thank you, you know, but then when they brought me back, you know, it got more intense, you know, what expected of me. Gosh, it was a freak accident. I mean, 2 months of just saying, we just need you for 2 months. And now it's like 20 years later. I mean, no one can take that away from me.